Hey there, everybody. Welcome back with the Platypus is the name, and today I'm going to give you 5 beginner tips. Now, of course, as these are beginner tips, this is assuming that you are a beginner. So if you're a little more advanced in the game or you've played a lot of Dragon Quest Monsters games in the past, this may not necessarily be for you. But without further ado, we're just going to jump into it because, this is the first one that's been on a main console in a really long time. So hopefully there's a bunch of new players playing this, and I want it to be as simple as a process as possible for you guys. So first, one of the most important things you're going to want to do in this game relatively early on is get a good scouting monster, or rather start focusing on getting a monster that could be good at scouting. Most of the time you're going to be playing this game, you are going to want to be scouting monsters, new monsters out in the wild and stuff like that. Now, how does scouting work? Scouting is basically a monster will, you do a show of force, and a monster will get a % chance to join you based on the kind of damage that your monsters do. Now, what they do will depend on the monster that you're fighting and their defenses and HP, stuff like that. But the more attack or wisdom you have is basically going to be what will make these monsters better at it. So, for example, Dragon Lord here, which is not what you should go for in the beginning of the game, but he's got a lot of wisdom. My overkilling machine has a lot of attack. So these are good monsters at scouting. So you want to you kind of want to keep this in mind and either try to focus on one really powerful scouting monster, but realistically you want to get a couple monsters that'll be good at scouting, and then I think kind of a specialized one that really does it. So what makes a good scouting monster? So there's a couple things that will make a monster better than other monsters at scouting for the most part. So first thing we're going to go here, we're going to go to trait, and it's going to be near the bottom here. One of the really important ones is strong starter. So strong starter basically means that you do more damage the first 3 turns of combat. And so when you just deal more damage, that is a way to make your monsters better at scouting if you're trying to scout something really early in, which is usually what I do. I don't usually try to weaken a monster over 4 rounds and then get it, anything like that. Usually it's in the first 3 rounds you're scouting. So really good starting monsters to do is going to be like this guy right here, the Komodo. He's got a 3-star stat growth, and on top of that he also has a he starts with where's it at? He has a strong starter at level 20, so it's not instant, but he does have it pretty early. The Chicken Boy is also an option in the first zone, as he starts at level 1 with strong starter, so that might make him better, but he doesn't have quite the growth rates. However, they could still be pretty good at it early on. Now, another thing to kind of focus on, this is going to kind of blend in with my second point. So this is both important for the first point and the second point, but it's don't forego support monsters or defensive monsters. It can be really tempting, especially me in the early game. I did all breath attacks and super all-out attacks, AoE, and damage, and that's really important, and it is going to get you far. But I've gotten to a point, and I think you'll get to a point, where you just can't out-damage the bosses if you don't have any support. Like 4 DPS will lose because you might all just die in 1 round from the boss because he hits really hard. So you're going to want to develop some sort of tank, some sort of like monster that can help defend, whether it be like a metal slime that's doing selfless, whether it's a cure slime that could heal everybody, whether it's a shell slime that could defend everybody. Obviously I'm a little biased towards slime, right? But when people can do things like, blunt, anything that's like support, right? If you're able to heal, you're able to do buff, give your whole give your whole team defense. That kind of stuff is really important. But also while you're in this, you want to get something that has a support skill. Like besides Kabuff, you also want something like Oomph. I don't actually see where Oomph is at. I wonder if I could find something really quick here where Oomph is at. But if you get Oomph, or you get the other one that boosts your wisdom, which I can't remember right now, that is something that is absolutely worth picking up, because that will actually increase your ability to scout as well. So let's go with a support here. Let's go Oomphle, the really good one, and let's confirm. So you can see even like Box Slime has it, right? Early on too. Box Slime is not that hard to get. And he has Oomphle, he has Ping, he has Buff, Acceleratle, Mid-Heal. So he's got a lot of good stuff here. So get a support monster, get something that'll help keep your team alive. And then the fights where they don't need to keep your team alive, make it so that they can buff your team to help them deal more damage. That way they're still vicariously dealing damage essentially, but then when the going gets rough, they're able to keep you going. And so like when you have if you like are scouting something, you full your whole team, suddenly your whole team, assuming they're physical attackers, will be able to scout more efficiently. So that is something that you absolutely want to keep in mind. They kind of go in hand, but those are two separate points here. And trust me, if you get too far into the game and you have no way to keep yourself alive, you're gonna kind of hit a wall, because enemies start hitting really, really hard. Unless you're so insanely overpowered, at which point then you're probably not a beginner, if I could be honest. So another thing you want to get ready to do when you're synthesizing is evolve skills. So basically, if you didn't know, skills can evolve. What are skills? I don't even know if they're called skills. They're called talents. They're not even called skills. They're called talents, but talents can evolve, right? So a good example, the simplest one, the one you'll see the easiest, which is kind of like a tutorial, I feel like, talent, is Wisdom Booster or HP Booster, Agility Booster, Defense Booster, right? They even have a 1 after it to let you know, hey, maybe there's a Wisdom Booster too. Maybe there's a HP Booster too. So these are very, very easy to do, but you want to start getting these ready early on, because it'll take a lot of points over a lot of syntheses to get these up to the rank 4 versions. But those aren't the only skills that you can rank up and evolve in that way. It's called talent evolution, I believe. So a good example here is the Perfect Speller, right? It's got Ka-Fizzle, Ka-Zapple, Ka-Zamble, Ka-Swooshle, Ka-Crackle, Ka-Boomble, Ka-Sizzle, Ka-Splashle, Ka-Craggle. It's got basically every element, the good version of every element, right? The best version of each of those elements. Maybe not the best version, but like a really good version of all these spells. And so like, I'll do a more detailed guide on how to get these, but maybe I won't. I don't know. But basically there's going to be things like, let's go to the Monsterpedia and just kind of look at them really quick. Boom, boom, boom. Monsterpedia. And we're going to filter by talent. So like Crag and Whoosh Aficionado, basically you can upgrade these if you get them to, basically you need to have 2 monsters that have this ability combined at a level that it's maxed. Does that make any sense when I say it like that? Let me express it this way. So if I wanted to get, hypothetically, let's say Wisdom Booster 4, let's say there was a Wisdom Booster 5. I would need to do one of 2 things. Have 2 monsters with Wisdom Booster 4 at 100 points. So when they add up together, they equal 200, which is the max. Or I could just have 1 monster have it, but it has to be maxed. So basically the monsters that add up have to add up to be equal to maxing out the skill, and then you can get the evolution of that. And so one of the ones that's a little more complex, this is a great one, right? At 2, if this attack booster, this guy's at 145, but if I fuse him with a guy with 55 attack booster 3, he would unlock attack booster 4. Now he already has it in this case, but that's just an idea. But besides that, something like Splash Aficionado, same thing. When this levels up, it will, you get to 100 points between 2 monsters and synthesize, you will get the Splash Virtuoso. But you can actually do things like combine, once you get a maxed out Splash Virtuoso and a maxed out Splash, I think it's Craggle or something like that, then those will combine and you'll get like other additional skill sets that are even better than either of those stand alone. So definitely something you want to kind of get ready for. I would look up a more detailed guide, as it's kind of out the scope of this video, but keep in mind, you want to start getting these on your monsters, and you kind of want to start investing points into them. You don't necessarily need to go straight for the 150 point Lightning Storm early in the game, whereas I feel like a lot of these boosters and stuff are going to serve you well. At least get ready for it. You maybe have a couple guys with some of the high level skills, but this attack booster and stuff is going to serve you in the long run for sure. So besides that also is I think it is also super important. This is going to directly overlap with yesterday's video, but as just a partial thing for if you're a beginner and you're only seeing this one, if you have a monster like this with only 2 skill points, that means you scouted it from the wild. You want to take these monsters and synthesize them almost as fast as you can. There might be some exceptions where you don't want to, but for the most part, even in the beginning of the game, you want to synthesize almost exactly at like level 10 as soon as you can. Because what's going to happen is when monsters only have 2 talents, they're actually getting less talent points per time that they get it. You get, basically, the way it works, you get something that's divisible by a number, right? So if you have 1 talent point, 1 talent, you're going to get 3 talent points when you get these talent points. If you have 2, you get 6, and if you have 3, you get 9. And then there will be some levels where you'll either get 4, 8, or 12. So you want to have all three because you're going to get the most amount of talent points. And so even though you are foregoing a little bit of talent points in like from between level 10 and 12, or a little bit of stats from 10 to 12, in the early game, the extra talent points you're getting are just going to be way more important. So you just want to take these guys, throw them on something, and then move on from there. And this one is, I might have actually done 6 points in this video. I don't remember, but here we go. I either wrote down 5 or 6. I forgot to number them. But this one, you've probably seen me already do it a couple times in this video. And this one is, yes, I know game 8 and I know online resources are really good, but I don't think it's necessarily super optimal for enjoyment, which is what I think video games are mostly for, to just look up everything online the second you can, right? I know I'm making guide videos and stuff like that, and that's a lot of times because I have fun making this kind of stuff, and a lot of people that watch my content are also further than me, and some people that aren't as far are watching it because they need help, right? But also, you know, people can play however they want. But I do think, besides that, instead of going straight online, I recommend using the Monsterpedia. This thing is insanely useful. On top of it, like, showing you every monster you've ever seen. Like, I've never seen this monster because it's not out in the wild. I don't remember what that is, but I'll find it eventually, right? But it'll also show you, it shows you all the monsters you've ever had. So let's find a good example of a monster that I've seen. So there's Green Dragon, and here's one that I have seen right next to it. Okay, so you see here, this is a monster I've captured or scouted. You can see all of its gross. You can see exactly what it drops if you kill it. You can see at least one combination to make it. I kind of wish it gave you the conditions. That way you kind of better understood, but essentially that's what it is. And it even shows you where you can scout it, right? In the Circle of Caprice, lower echelon, all seasons, right? That's a great example. And then it'll show you the talents it starts with. It'll show you its traits. So you get a lot of really cool information, including its resistances. But here's the thing. Even if you've only seen a monster and you've never scouted it, it is still going to show you how you could synthesize it. This one is showing you an Ursa Major and a Small Fry, and it still shows you where this monster appears. So even if you're just looking for a monster and you're like, oh, I've seen this monster, where did my opponent get it? I've never seen this monster, where do I get it? Sometimes it'll give you something habitat. This thing can't be captured. Man, that's an ugly monster. Holy crap. But you can see Axosaurus and Ant Guzzler could make this, right? Could make a wyvern. So you kind of still get an idea. You don't need to go find the exact answer. The game is giving you the tools to kind of find that. But beyond that, even another cool feature is if you hit Y here, you can see exactly what I do. You could filter by whatever you want. If you want to find a monster with specifically like HP booster 3, or even, you know, it doesn't matter, anything here, right? You can even look at by habitat. You could even just look at monsters, like what are monsters that are, I'm in the upper echelon of the Circle of Fortitude. What are monsters I could find here, right? And so you can see like, oh, here's a list of monsters that show up in this area, apparently. And so you could use this to kind of help you narrow down to make sure you're finding everything. Or you're like, all right, well, I don't care about that. Let's restore the default settings. But what I really need is I just need to find something with Crag Aficionado, because I decided I'm going to finally go for some of these perfect speller late game stuff. You hit start. Here's monsters that are guaranteed to start with it, right? So you come over here, Crag Aficionado, Crag Aficionado, Crag Aficionado, Crag Aficionado. It'll show you exactly where to find them, how to get them, how to synthesize them if that's what you want to do, items that they might drop while you're fighting them. And then you can even see their, like, all the details about them. You can even see their growth rate. So you could be like, all right, well, maybe I'm not going to synthesize them right away. So maybe I do want to get this Rubble Slime because he's got a slightly higher wisdom than the rest, and he's got good defense, you know? So this is stuff that I think is very useful. This is probably a tool that is underutilized by the average player because they think of it as maybe just a Pokedex, which it is just a Pokedex, but it's also a Pokedex that lets you see all of the skills of the monsters. And you can look it up by like exactly what I did in the earlier of the video, right? What do we want? We want Strong Starter, right? Although I can never remember which one it is. I think it's a trait. So we come down here near the bottom, boom, 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 boom. It'll only show you ones you found, of course. But if I come up here and I'm like, all right, I really want a Strong Starter. Where's it at? Is it even this one? I don't think so. I can't remember. I can't remember which one's which. It is this one. It doesn't matter. All right, I'll admit it's not the best in terms of organizational, all right? But it's okay because it's still good overall. We'll find it. We'll find it. There we go. I wanted gold panner. I'm sorry. That's what I wanted. And see, I've never found anything with gold panner. This is a terrible example. Rando oomph. There we go. So this is actually a good one for scouting as well, because sometimes you'll just oomph in the beginning of a round and you don't need a buffer for that. But there we go. Use this stuff. These are my tips. Guys, I hope this is helpful to you. If there's anything I forgot that you think would be good for beginners, let me know if you're watching this, and then let me know what they could be doing. And if any of this is helpful to you, please let me know as well, as I like making videos, and I like knowing if they're helpful or not. That's all for today. The Purplatypus is Purplatypus. I'll see you on the flip-flop. Have a good flip and flop night. Bye.